Hello everyone. In this presentation, I will give you some exam tips on how to make a mandibular structural superimposition, and I will tell you that how the examiners correlate with your superimposition, with your cephalometric values and your treatment mechanics. Before going into the superimpositions, I will let you know about some necessary things which you should have for making the superimposition. The first one is that you should have ultra fine permanent markers. I usually prefer them from Sharpie. For structural superimposition, you will need black for initial, blue for mid if there is a mid treatment, red for final, and green for post retention or follow up. I want ask you, or I want to recommend you to have a post treatment X-ray in a specialty level exam, or post treatment superimposition in the specialty level exam. After the permanent marker, you need alcohol pads, because if there is some mistake in tracing, you can easily remove that tracing or erase that tracing with the help of alcohol pads. You will need to trace your superimposition on a transparency film, and if you are taking a picture, you can place a blank white paper below the film and take the picture of this transparency film to make it digital. So coming back to the superimposition, this was a distalization case. I used a distal jet in the upper arch to distalize upper molars. So I placed bite blocks during the course of distalization. In the lower arch, even I went for the bending of lower eights. They were erupted, and to level the curve P, I went for the bending of the lower eights. The starting IMPA was, as you see, 99. The mid treatment after the distal jet, the IMPA was 99 because I did nothing in the lower arch, and the post treatment IMPA was, or near end of treatment IMPA, or low incisor to mandibular plane angle, was 100 degree. So I come to the structural superimposition. The structural superimposition, as you know everyone, the landmarks are anterior contour of the symphysis, inner cortical contour of the symphysis. This is very important, but because this structure is the inner cortical contour of the symphysis, because many times people go on these lines to make the inner cortical contour of the symphysis, which are not true. So structure 1, structure 2, then the inferior alveolar canal. If the third molar is present in both the X-rays or in all the lateral shafts which are used for superimposition in a case, and their roots are not developed, or they develop less than 1/3, you can in fact you can use the crypt of the lower third molar if their roots are not developed in all the X-rays. So I haven't used it there because it's for the adult patient. Any stable cortical contour in the mandible, there was none in this case. So three structures: the anterior contour of the symphysis, this lower area, the inner cortical contour of the symphysis, this area, not the outer area, and the inferior alveolar canal should be traced. For the inferior alveolar canal, I tell you that just select the best inferior alveolar canal from the OPG, which you see that it's close to a third molar or a second molar or first molar, and you can trace rest of the inferior alveolar canals from the first X-ray by superimposing it. So there is some element of bias in tracing the inferior alveolar canal. I don't go for the condyle, making of the condyle. In fact, the articular point is the point which I take for the superimposition to see the changes, that how much changes have occurred here, because articular point is quite clear and condyle is not so clear. So even in making of the condyle, you can have an element of bias, but I tell you that this is not a stable structure, and examiner are really bothered about it if they see something that is articular. So I come on the first superimposition, that is between the initial, the black and the blue. if you see there is no black line here, so the examiner really want to see that the lines, both the lines are present. So if you see at some point the black line is not present and the examiners are sometimes concerned about it, at least trace a black line, then trace a blue line, because some people do that. If the black line is present and the structures are superimposing, they do not trace the blue line. So if I see with the my cephalometric values, the IMPA is unchanged, and it's quite clear the IMPA is unchanged here. So because I have done nothing in the lower arch during the course of distal jet, so it's quite obvious. Here it's a in the second superimposition, you see the comparison between pre, mid and post, and the IMPA is increased and the incisors are proclined. So the IMPA is only 100 degree. So the examiners ask a question that why it's only 1 degree when the distance has increased to 3 millimeter. So you say that we have given the torque in them. Like what I have used MBT mechanics and MBT brackets, and it as it has -6 degree torque, so the tooth went upright and while proclining. So I maintain the torque of the incisors while proclining them, so the IMPA only increase 100 degree. In the third X-ray, if we make comparison, the IMPA remain the same of 100 degree. Between the pre and the post, it makes sense that the IMPA should be same between the pre and the post, because it should correlate with the mid treatment, because in the mid it was 99 and here there was no change, so it should correlate. But if I see the incisor position, though the IMPA is 100, but the pre-treatment incisors, as they correlate here, they should correlate in these two X-ray superimpositions too, but they are not correlating. There is a increased distance between mid-treatment to post-treatment lower incisors, then pre-treatment to post-treatment. So these two things should correlate, because the distance should be equal, because here we are correlating it and it's an adult patient. So this is a mistake. Then I will come to the more relation. If you see in the pre-treatment, as I told you that I used a distal jet and I distalized the molars. So as I distalized them, there is no change in the lower arch, because I was doing nothing in the lower arch and it was an adult patient. So as I leveled the curve P, so my molar extruded, the red one extruded and the blue one is down, so it's quite natural I level the curve P by extrusion of the molars, because I told you that I banded the 8s. In adult patient is quite unstable that you extrude the molars. Ideally the incisors should have been intruded. So if you see, the incisors are also intruded but the molars are also extruded, and the molars are slightly mesialized. Now in the final superimposition, if you see, the molars are mesialized, which is good because it correlate with this superimposition. The molar are extruded, but the molars in the mid treatment here from mid to final seems more extruded than here in the final superimposition. So they should ideally extrude to the same levels, from because here there is no change, so you should you are supposed to show the same change in the molars too from the mid and in the final superimposition. I give you another tip: always use templates for making incisors and molars. If the incisors and molars in all the superimpositions should be of the same size. If you have any question, you can write it down. I hope you can understand my accent. Thanks.